Welcome to Youth in the Loop, a talk show geared at youth and for the youth. Youth expressing themselves on controversial issues. We are your hosts, Philippa Dixon Lamy.
And I'm Norris Kimball, and I'm excited, Miss Lamy, to be here, to be present for this discussion.
On our panel today, we have four young persons, youth. We have Selena Lamy.
Hello, everyone.
Teresa Hunter.
Hi, everybody.
Damoki Baptiste.
Greetings, everyone.
And Samantha Wilson.
Hello, everybody.
Today, we will be discussing some topical issues that young Christians are faced with in today's world. The broad topic, Seventh-day Adventists versus the world, emphasis will be placed on three areas. Firstly, what a Christian should look like. Secondly, should Seventh-day Adventists engage in politics? And thirdly, how young Seventh-day Adventists navigate themselves in a secular world. Now over to you, my co-host.
Yes, man, this first question is very exciting to me. Also, I would say this is an icebreaker question, something to break that ice to get everyone into the mood. And the first question, which I would love to direct to Teresa. You don't mind if I call you Teresa, do you? First name basis?
No, I don't.
Okay, it's good. It's great. We all can be called on a first name basis, So our first question, Teresa, is what should a Christian look like?
Well, the Bible speaks about being modest, right? It talks about plaiting of the hair, putting on of apparel. It doesn't mean that we should wear clothes or comb our hair. It's just that we're supposed to do it within moderation, not to show up ourselves, but like the scripture says, for it to show us being meek people, humility.
So in other words, we should be concerned as Christians, not trying to make our outward or the inside look more appealing, but also we should take into consideration our outside, how people view us as a Christian. Because if we're going around saying that we are Christian or we're followers of Christ, what you're saying is that we must also look like we're following Christ as well, right?
Right.
Yes, I want to also now ask Mr. Baptiste. Mr. Baptiste, along that same line, what do you believe a Christian should look like?
Well, I believe a Christian should, dress comfortably while still maintaining, that self-respect. Just piggybacking off of what Theresa said, you got to let that hidden man or woman be shown, through your heart. You're not necessarily trying to convince people or worried about what they're wearing to adorn themselves or whatever the case might be, but you want to make sure that you're adorning yourself with modesty and having that sobriety, people not wondering if you're sober or not. You're well kept and you're still maintaining that self-respect.
I really love what you said, and I just want to touch on that. Now, some people would like to dress, I'll say, with clothes in their closet. They may have this short skirt or they may have something really fancy. Now, if you come to church and you have something that's maybe tight or really fancy, would that be in moderation or would that, kind of throw it off? Can you just elaborate on that for me, Mr. Baptiste? When about being comfortable, we're talking about being comfortable. And for someone, being comfortable may be whatever I have in my closet, I should be allowed to wear it.
Right. So, I like to wear socks and slides, basketball shorts, I go play ball and whatnot, but there's still a place and time for everything. That's why there's casual, formal wear, it's really based on the environment that you're going into. And I mean, you can still kind of make shift with your clothes. I know for the woman, I'm gonna speak lightly on this, but there's like, throw-ons y'all could put on, the little tie-ons and, uh it depends on, the woman or whatnot. But as a man, sometimes we like to wear a slim fit, pants might be a little slim fit, but there's levels to it. And I feel like once ever you're comfortable and you're not having people like, whispering to you like, oh, you should probably leave that alone, or something like that. I feel like you should be straight.
Okay, I also want to bring in Miss Wilson for a moment. Miss Wilson, can you go ahead on and like as they say, chime in on this topic? What should a Christian look like?
Yes, Brother Norris. I think a Christian should, well, as Christians, I feel like we are already aware. Before we're Christians, we're human. You know how you look when you walk out that door. You know your physique. For women who are a little bit thicker, who are blessed a little bit more, men that are blessed a little bit more, men that work out, you know how you look. You know your body. So I feel like you should dress according to your body type, so it's not, you know, giving off that sex appeal, that you're not making anybody uncomfortable when they're coming in. Like, you just want to you can still be sexy and modest and still look good, but also still be, modest about it. Because for me, I know that for us girls, it's gonna be hard wearing certain type of clothing. You're always gonna have something to say, so just try your best to be in that bracket so nobody has to say anything about it. And I say, hey, if you don't like what I'm wearing, you should be able to help me out. Buy somebody a dress. Always try to lend that hand because they probably don't even know, or that's probably all they have.
You bring up a very interesting point. We don't know what someone may have in their closet, and maybe it's their first time out to church. We don't want to turn anyone away because maybe they came in shorts, or even if they did come in a tight skirt or pants. But we should be mindful of their needs. We should be mindful of this may be what that person has, and we are going to accept them as they are because that's what Christians are supposed to do. We're not supposed to be judging others who come to church. You know, I also, before we end this topic, I would like to find out what's going on in Miss Lamy's head on this topic on what should a Christian look like. Miss Lamy?
Okay, yes. So I agree with all the other panelists. Just to piggyback off what Baptiste said, we should look modest. And I also believe, just as how we will dress up for work, or there's a dress code for work, I believe is the same. If we're going to church, we should dress up. Why not look good for God? Just as how you dress up on your birthday, or if you're going to a dinner. So I believe we should take the same effort as when we're going to church.
I love what you said. And as we're closing off, I'm going to give some time to Miss Hunter and Miss Baptiste to go ahead on and give some closing thoughts on this question. Miss Hunter?
Okay, thank you. I was just about to ask too, but just to add to the point that was being spoken about people in church making people feel uncomfortable, and it may be what that person has in the closet. First of all, we're supposed to be leading by example. So if we are dressing the way we are supposed to be dressing as Christians, then the persons that come in, we still make them feel comfortable, like it's okay to come as you are. But as time progresses, the person starts fitting into the culture of the church, right? And even outside of that, Christians, after a time, as we grow, the longer we stay Christians and the more we stay in the word, etc., we become converted. And it's based on conversion that you will see that difference in appearance.
Mr.
Yeah,
Baptiste?
yeah. Piggybacking off of Theresa, you just got to maintain that modesty. There's so many options. There's so many different things that you can still wear, but still have drip. Still have a nice clean fit. So, just being mindful and still being coachable, because people are, as Samantha said, people are still going to talk about what you wear, what color you wear, whatever the case might be. But whenever it's constructive criticism, take it with a grain of salt, take it with more than a grain of salt, but still, be mindful that, this, you're getting feedback from people that love you. So, you know, just being mindful and modest.
Most definitely. And if I may put a comment in before I turn it back over to our host, I remember when I joined the church, I would come to church and what they would call a wife beater, and I would have on some slacks, and I would have on tennises, and I would notice everyone around me, and I had on a lot of jewelry as well. But I noticed everyone around me, they were not dressing like that. And just to go back to what Teresa said, it brings me back to a song by Shirley Caesar where she gave a testimony and she said, "It is hard to come in contact with Jesus and still be the same. Don't care who you are." And by me having that contact and by me having that awareness around me, I began to not wear so much jewelry, and to a point where I stopped wearing jewelry at all. I began to kind of blend in and make myself, dress more appropriately in church. Not all the time I wore a shirt and a tie, but I was mindful that I was in the house of God and that it requires me to dress appropriately. But that comes with maturity, as Miss Hunter said. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Miss Philippa.
Thank you, Norris. So overall, as Christians, we ought to look as if God is blessing us and not looking the worst.
Yes, indeed, indeed,
Input.
indeed.
Now we're at our second question. Should Seventh-day Adventists engage in politics? Now we're living in a world where governance is a must, and it is up to us to choose who governs. Samantha, what are your thoughts on Seventh-day Adventists engaging in politics?
Okay. Before I go off on my personal thought, I'm just gonna read this Seventh-day Adventist quote that I found. It says that political parties play a huge role in the political process of the democratic countries. Nevertheless, Christ encouraged his followers to respect secular governments by rendering to Caesar the things that are Caesar's and to God things that are God's. And that's also from Matt 22:21. So with that being read and said, I believe that you should have a limit. I believe that you should take part in those political, conversations, getting involved in community, in your country, but also have a limit. That doesn't mean stray completely, have an idea, because politics still plays a part in our personal society. So there's politics everywhere. All I'm saying is don't get too involved. Just have a limit so you're not distracted or you lose sight from where you are right now as a Christian.
Excellent, Jesse. Okay, so we should have a limit, and I do think we, as Christians, we ought to have limits when it comes on to politics. Now, Teresa, what are your views on Christians engaging in politics?
Well, seeing that I agree with what Samantha just said, I'm going to continue with saying that, hey, everything in moderation. And just to highlight that there, as Christians participating in politics, I think there's a process. And I just want to highlight a scripture to show point what I'm going to say. It's Acts chapter 1, verses 23 onwards. It says, "And they appointed two, Joseph called Barsabbas, who was surnamed Justus, and Matthias. And they prayed and said, Thou, Lord, which knowest the hearts of all men, shew whether of these two thou hast chosen, that he may take part of this ministry and apostleship, from which Judas by transgression fell, that he might go to his own place. And they gave forth their lots, and the lot fell upon Matthias, and he was numbered with the 11 apostles." For me, that's like a version of voting for the apostles back in Bible days, right? If we notice that they prayed before they chose which of the two was going to replace Judas, they made sure to pray, and then they went ahead with their process, which was casting lots, right? We don't cast lots nowadays. We actually do that, well, kind of like the same thing, but yeah, we go and we put our vote in. So yes, there's a process, and like Samantha said, there's a limit.
Okay, So we don't cast lots, gone are those days, but the
Right.
Bible does support voting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Selena, what are your views on Christians engaging in politics?
Okay, so as you said, Miss Lamy, the Bible does support voting. So it's encouraged for us to vote. But also, I just want to highlight that even though it's encouraged, it's still a choice. So if you choose to vote, you should be mindful of who you're voting for and what are the principles and the values that they're putting out there. Make sure it aligns with your Christian views and values.
Very good. It aligns with your Christian values. Very good. Okay, the only gentleman on the panel, Mr. Baptiste. What are your views on Christians engaging in politics?
Yes, yes. So piggybacking on what Selena said, it is still a choice. But living in this world, we still have to be mindful of our surrounding areas. When we move to a new city or whatever, we always look for our bank so we can go take out money, or favorite grocery store, whatever the case might be. So we still have to be mindful about what is around us so we can, govern ourselves accordingly. And SDAs are basically already involved in politics. We still vote for leaders in the church, whatever the case might be. On a merit system, obviously, everybody is thinking about what good can this person lead us to, or with God's help. So yes, I still feel like it should be a temperate approach to politics. We should still be mindful, but still everything in temperance and according to God's will.
Okay, so overall, there should be a limit with Christians voting. We cannot get in too deep. Voting is a right, and we have freedom of choice.
Right.
And we can engage in politics, but there should be a line of demarcation.
And we
Over
should
Definitely.
pray about it also.
yeah, prayer is a must. Over to you, Norris.
Oh man, I'm so excited. I've just learned so much from these discussions. And I love to actually get into the mind of young people, Philippa, to see what's going on, because sometimes we see the young people, but we do not know what's going on inside those minds. I have two daughters, and I'm going to be honest. I don't know what's going on a lot of times in those minds. And even though we may ask as parents, sometimes they may be afraid to, say something. But when you have panels and discussions as this, it allows the young people to open up. And I'm excited about the next question. And it's our last question, but I believe, Philippa, this question is actually going to put the icing on the cake for what we're doing today. And this question here, I want to actually call on Selena for this question. How should young Adventists navigate themselves in a secular world?
Yes, and it's a question that we all asked when we were young. So, how should young Adventists navigate a secular world? It might present unique challenges such as the Sabbath day observance, community support, and faith in a secular world.
Okay, this is now I do want to actually grab something you just said, and I want you to actually give me some more information on it. When I was going to school, there was a lot of tests that were given, and all of these tests were on Sabbath. Also, I want you to address when I was going to school, there was a lot of football games and battle of the bands that were on Sabbath. And I wanted to attend all of these battles of the bands, football games, and also take tests. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I did it because I was not a Sabbath keeper like you are. So, how can a Sabbath keeper navigate themselves and muster up that confidence to go and address that with their teachers, their coaches, their professors? How do you do that?
Okay, so just as how when you're attending any school, any institution, you have to declare that if you have a disability or not. So as for a Seventh-day Adventist youth, I believe that it's our duty to say to our advisors or a professor that, hey, I have to observe the Sabbath day. So if, for example, if you have an exam on the Sabbath day, I believe that you should have told the professor or your advisor prior to that day that you cannot take the exam on that day, and they should be able to make a necessary accommodations.
I love that answer. I want to bring Mr. Baptiste in for a moment. Mr. Baptiste, I would like for you to chime in on this navigation in a secular world. Now, here's the example for you. There's a football game that's going on. There's a battle of the band that's going on. And it's going to happen at sunset Friday. Now, I know Seventh-day Adventists from sunset Friday to sunset Saturday, that is the Sabbath. But you really want to attend this battle of the band. You really want to attend this football game. How do you let your peers, your friends know I cannot attend?
Well, you really have to just be honest, and you got to let them know, like, this is against my beliefs. And if it was on any other day, Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, I'll be there. I won't lie. My freshman year, I still went to these things, even though I shouldn't have. But as the time progressed, and less of my friends at college or at school or my party friends, whatever, that they started to, fall off as I started to, get back into my church community and whatnot. So now I would tell my younger self to just stay home. There's so many other things you can do, and especially on Friday nights, most churches, have choir practice or whatever Saturday night, so you can just stay home, take it easy, do your rest. That FOMO, fear of missing out, is crazy, but you'll probably realize the benefits as the years goes on. You're probably not going to see any immediate, what's it called, instant gratification. Like, no, don't even expect any type of instant gratification. um you have to stick to what you know, have faith in that, and that's why you have the church community to support you and to encourage that positive influence in your life. So just having that support definitely make the walk a little bit better.
I want to actually grab on to something you said. Well, actually, 2 points. You mentioned FOMO, and everyone hears that around now, fear of missing out. Point number two, you said having that support. And so I believe what you're talking about is that a community who believe the same things you believe in, right? So I want you to pretty much expound on that community part of it.
Heard. So when it comes to like your interests, like I play basketball, I work out, I like to paint, like beach, like all those different things. We always find a mutual interest to share. We talk about it, we laugh about it. The basketball games, we talk about that too. He is down right now, unfortunately, but we can still share with that. So, and that's even better when you can talk to church members about this. Like talking to church members about sports, very, very interesting, because it is still, worldly sport, whatever the case might be, but still pulling, different interests, or even lessons that we might learn. We can literally pull biblical lessons, and when the pastor's preaching, talking about Messi coming to Miami and how we can uh still, just be better, whatever the case might be, we can still apply that to our worldly friends. We can use our godly messages applying to sports or whatever to relate to other people. So your community at church literally prepares you for everything else, like Pathfinders and even serving. That would prepare you to witness to others. But in order to witness to others, you have to be familiar with their interests. You have to be open to listening to what their interests are. And then you can move forward.
I like that. So we must all surround ourselves with the community, because no one really can survive by themselves. I think it was Paul Harvey that says, no man is an island, and we are not by ourselves. So we need a community of believers who would help us actually get through maybe that day, that Sabbath, and what if we're starting out? And I want to open also and bring into this discussion Selena. I have not forgotten about you. Samantha, I have not forgotten about you. And Teresa, I have not forgotten about you. Okay, so Selena, back
Yeah.
to you. Back to you. I love what you had said. You mentioned something about aligning yourself.
Mm-hmm.
How does one, what does that look like? How can you align yourself? Give me an example of aligning yourself.
Okay, aligning your would be engaging in respectful dialogues with your peers, highlighting that yes, you're a SDA youth. So just building that community, that relationship, and just dialoguing about the Sabbath day observance, peer pressures you might have. If you're struggling with your faith, just building, having that community. And I also want to state that we don't necessarily have to be friends with just SDA youths. We can be friends with other people of the world. But again, we have to be mindful and also just respecting each other views and ideas. Mm-hmm. And
I
just community to support and encourage and hold you accountable. Having friends that hold you accountable is very important.
like that. I want to bring Miss Wilson and Samantha. Can you give me an example where you had to navigate in this secular world? Did you have any FOMO, that fear of missing out?
Yes. So many. I was invited to do I was gonna go to Miami Carnival. There was a carnival going on down like up north, and all my friends are going like, oh my goodness, it's gonna be fun, fun, fun. I was like, it was Friday night, so it was like Saturday, and I was like, guys, I cannot go, da 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 da. So they ended up, but thank God that I would say that it's good to have friends that respect your boundaries and know your religion and is willing to, like, I was not say adopt or adapt, but just understand it in a way. So they actually changed the date to Wednesday and Thursday so we can have the 2-day party so I can attend. So I would say I was grateful to be surrounded by your friends and have peers that are like, yeah, she's savage, she doesn't eat meat, she can't do this, she can't do that. So instead of burdening me, they would try to keep me involved as much as possible, and that comes with building your profile. Yes, it's good to surround yourself with people with good hearts. We have to build that platform for yourself to know this is what I stand for, this is who I am, this is what I want to do. And yes, it could be tempting that you have, and sometimes we're not perfect, but I would say that I can't send you to heaven. So you have to do your best to work on a relationship with God and do what you have to do. Because nobody is better than anybody else. So it's really just important that you talk to God, like, hey, God, listen, I'm in this situation. This is going on. This is between you and Him. So I'm pretty sure God is willing to understand the situation. And all you can do is ask for forgiveness. That's really the borderline because it's your relationship with Him. So that's how I feel like it comes to your profile and your relationship. And surrounding yourself with people like Pathfinders. I love Pathfinders. I wouldn't say Pathfinders saved me, but it's a really great outreach. It's a great ministry because we all are Christians. We all have the same purpose, the same mindset, same religion. Everything's the same. And there's like so many youth. So it's just a lot easier when we all go to camp. We're like, oh, you guys going to camp? And it's just, you can feel the love, the energy is it's just really electric. It's really electric just being around people with the same heart and mission, and you don't have to worry about explaining to them that, oh, we can't do that or you can't do this. It's just easier. It's more laid back sometimes.
Most definitely. I thank you for that. I'm going to actually go to Teresa. And then before I go, after I go to Teresa, then I'll turn it back over to Philippa. Teresa, what would be some closing thoughts or encouragement you would give to someone who is watching and they have that FOMO, that fear of missing out, or they do not want, or they are ashamed or maybe embarrassed to even let them know, hey, this, I have to go to church or I worship on this day? What would be your encouragement to them?
I would remind them that there is not much, well, not much, there's nothing out there that can be compared to that me or anybody else can miss out on that can be compared to missing out on God, missing out on life eternal, missing out on heaven. You know, we have to try to fight that being fearful of God or being well, not fearful, but I used the wrong word. Being ashamed then, right? Of God, or being ashamed of the things that we stand for because of what is going on with our peers. Because at the end of the day, we're going to have to answer to someone greater. So it's better to put our feet down, like was said earlier, and stand up to our friends. We have to develop backbones for our friends. You know, everybody have backbones for people who they would consider opposition, you know, or someone they don't agree with. But rarely do we ever have backbones for our friends. So we need to develop those backbones so we can say, hey, this is this. Like Jamoki said earlier, just be honest, you know? And God will come through for us. He will. He has promised that He will never leave us nor forsake us. And He sends us the Comforter. And like Samantha said, it comes down to our relationship with God. So once we are talking to God, once we have that relationship with Him too, He will help us to navigate these different circumstances and situations that we might come upon in the world as young people.
Agreed, agreed. I'm going to turn it back over to Miss Philippa.
Okay, so to wrap up this segment, Selena, there's a Bible verse that contributes to this conversation. Let's hear it.
Yes, I do have a Bible verse regarding to this topic, and it's Romans 12 verses 2, and it reads, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect." So this verse reminds young Adventists to resist conforming to the values and the patterns of this secular world. Instead, encourage them to undergo a transformation by renewing their minds through God's word. By doing so, they will be able to discern and understand God's will, distinguishing what is good, acceptable, and perfect according to His standards. This verse emphasized the importance of seeking God's guidance and allowing His words to shape their thinking and actions in a secular world.
Awesome, awesome, Selena. So the Bible supports everything. Parents have set the foundation for you as youth. Hence, it is up to you now to go out in the world. You might have non-Seventh-day Adventist friends, but the choice is yours. You have to engage yourselves in positive and constructive conversations and activities. So you're all human beings, but don't forget what your parents have set, the background, the foundation, and what the Bible speaks about. You can enjoy yourselves as young Seventh-day Adventist Christians. Okay? Thank you all for participating in Youth in the Loop. My co-host Norris, you have done an exceptional job. Thank you. Selena, thank you for joining. Jamuki, thank you for joining as well. Teresa, it was a pleasure having you as well. And Samantha, thank you for joining Youth in the Loop. So there you have it. The youth have spoken. Sometimes you might feel as if you have more than enough challenges. But remember to search the scripture and you will find answers to all your questions. Join us next time as we explore more controversial issues, views by the youth. This was Youth in the Loop. Thank you everyone for joining.